Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2 in this series between Boneng and Yurashic for the Spring Championships 2015. Absolutely, there could be one next year, though I'm not entirely sure. Certainly there's been talk. Certainly there has, as I may have said. But we do indeed have Yurashic in the south of the map in the colour blue, playing as indeed the French 200 wood star. Absolutely, really quite nice. And judging by that trading post explorer, judging by that trading post, I said it again. Judging by that explorer, he wants to build a trading post. There it is, absolutely. But I think he does start with, as we can see, a 50 wood treasure in base, and that could have made an early market really quite viable as well. In fact, 40 wood up there as well. Oh, early scout fight, though I don't think it's going to be too important. Of course, blue quite near his town can bring that back, and if that red one gets in line of sight, can put some villagers in there and kill it, and certainly that can be something you want to do. Certainly seen players like H2O do that in the video released a couple of days ago. And wow, if like just the micro on when he put the vills in the TC. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it. That was really impressive, that game. But this is about this game. 40 wood and 50 wood. That's 90 wood. Only has to collect 10 for the house. Actually has collected 20 wood by the looks of it, so over collected. And obviously he's now going to build a house. Really nice from the fact that he's found that. Or actually, no, he collected all that wood. He's collected like 60 or something wood because he hasn't got this treasure yet. Oh wow, like he could consciously go, I want to build a market and a trading post. Like he got the wood for it almost. That's absolutely insane. But then maybe that does slow you down quite a lot. I guess like this is only, collectively those treasures were only 90 wood, so you still have to collect, you know, 10 more wood for the market, then 50 more wood for the upgrade, and then 50 coin as well. You haven't got any, I don't know, maybe that would be a bit too slow, but perhaps it's worth considering, and then dismissing afterwards once you come to that conclusion, I suppose. But, yep, plan is the French, lots of scouting going to get done, certainly going to come across a coin treasure. No, it's a trapped monkey. I don't know. I spent a lot of time talking about markets in these first 2 minutes of the game. But that is Yurashic. Here we have his opponent, Boneng. Going with the early market, playing as the French, as we can see, has gone for the mirror matchup. And that's rather odd. Boneng usually avoids mirror matchups in every single way possible. Like, he really is not a fan of mirror matchups. It's kind of surprising to me that he's played 2 in a row now, actually. But I guess, yeah, that's happened. But absolutely fine, the market. Perhaps not quite as good as a trading post, but yes, found a 35 coin and a 30 coin treasure as well. 2 coin treasures, finds the coin in the early game and says to himself, actually, could go for a trading post, but I want to make use of these 2 treasures I have found. Certainly, if you go for a market, you have to collect 50 coin, and, you know, doesn't have to do that here. Only had to collect a little bit of wood. Didn't have to collect any of the coin, can get his villagers back to food sooner, can age up a bit quicker, and I think that's a nice decision there. Can always get that trading post during transition, and I suppose the opponent will get the market in transition. That's usually what happens in the French mirror, but absolutely. Let's talk about this matchup then. Firstly, turn this fog of war off. I don't know, I like casting from the recorded games. It's something I haven't done in a long time, honestly. And I just like having the Vigilette presentations, and you can switch line of sight. Oh, and it looks like we have a treasure contention, though it is only a 35 food treasure. Blue, obviously going for, sorry, red going for it. No, that's a blue. That's not a treasure guardian. That's a blue unit. So actually here, Yurashic's caught his opponent's explorer and can certainly remove some hit points if it snared him a bit longer. Maybe take that down, or at least force it back to his town center. But here, Boneng coming back in, the cheeky little bugger, gonna grab himself 35 food. And when his opponent tries to take it, Matt, you know, doesn't want it, just the small things. Just wants to sort of capture that whilst his explorer doesn't have anything to do whilst he's aging up. But actually getting caught again, but this is absolutely fine. Might be able to take out this monkey here. Gonna obviously do it. Oh, hand damage not so good, but walk back, shoot, there it is, and then walk back a little bit, and then when it's far enough, shoot, that's it, get them in there and take that out. Absolutely. Of course you have 16 range damage in the colonial edge. Well, only 12 at the moment, but that will go up. But yeah, a lot of range damage, not very much hand attack, so that's important to do. But now gonna get back to his town center, of course. Blue has a lot more hit points there, but fighting over at 35 food treasure, absolutely. But still on Boneng, haven't switched back just yet. Has got that age up in Q, almost aged up now, and is sort of rearranging his economy, as you can see, has switched his villagers over to wood, gathered 200 wood for the trading post, which he's probably now going to go and build, and he's got his place in mines, as we can see just here, and obviously maybe get the steel traps as well. Lots of goats, really looking quite good, but yes, Yurashic in the south of the map. There it is, a market. Spawning right on top of it as I switch sides. Yeah, hunting dogs now going down. Of course, he got the trading post in the early portion of the game instead. Absolutely fine. Very similar things happening here. No doubt going to be collecting for his steel traps. All of this good stuff. Very similar things. It is a French mirror. Let's talk about this matchup. Absolutely. French mirror. People don't like mirrors for some reason. I guess that's down to people do similar things. and there's not a huge amount of diversity. And at the same time, in a matchup that isn't a mirror, you get to see what each player does to sort of counter their opponent's civ, or to work their civilization advantage, or to work at a weakness of their opponent. It's always, I don't know, I guess that's why. But I think mirrors are really quite interesting because you do get to see players. It's down to skill, and I like that. That's something I really quite like. But yes, here we see Yurashic has that 400 wood on the floor. No doubt is going to build a barracks and a stable out of that. Very standard thing to do in a French mirror. The stable goes down there. It is want to build that one first. The Hustar takes longer to train. And then, of course, has overpopped, actually. Perhaps due to that 4 Ville shipment. To be fair, this is quite a late. Everything's going down a bit late. Yeah, 5 minutes in, and that's not even down. As we can see, this barracks is almost up for, of course, Boneng. Anyway, that's not the point. Gonna build a house out of this 700 wood, and then, well, could have a unit in queue at each. But then the house goes down, and then you finish off the batches of units so that you can actually train more than just 1 unit from each building. And that's good. 700 wood, you know, gonna get him lots of houses. And yep, so let's start with the stable. Why is he building a stable? Gonna build 5 cav, and usually then you just don't really use it for the rest of the game. But the fact that you have it is really nice. It gives you that option that you have it. You can make cavalry if you need to, if your opponent does something funkier, if he goes up to the fortress age, you need the cavalry to do it with the skirmishes, or, you know, it's just safe to have. And also the 5 cav are really good at raiding, and of course can do a lot of damage. But then after that, it's basically just making musks, and Age of Empires 3 isn't normally like that, but it's just about massing musks in the French mirror, really. As you can see, adding a second barracks down out of his stable. It's just 5 cav, do some raiding in that early portion of the game, and then make lots of musketeers and see how that pans out. Let's see what his next shipment is, but before we do, let's switch over to Boneng, who is doing something different. Boneng doesn't like mirror matchups, put it that way, and he's not a mirror matchup for him, actually. But this could be really good if he gets away with it. Clearly, is intending to do some sort of semi-FF pressure, and instead of making it the stable to do the raiding with, he actually knows his opponent will have hussars, so is instead going to make some extra units, some extra musk. I think he just missed his batch there. He wanted, oh wow, like, just as this 1 musk was built, he queued another one, so he's clearly just, I think he just missed his batch there. But yeah, building musketeers instead of hussars, and it's obviously built a barracks to make that possible instead of a stable. These are here to protect his, of course, units against these cav, which are coming out very late at 7 minutes. That's super late. Like, I'd be surprised if it, like, he could have had, like, a whole minute or maybe more of time extra to try and kill villagers with and work that advantage of having them out. But this normally is really tough to get away with. If you can in a French mirror, you want to sneak up to the next stage, because you get those skirmishes out, you just win. Skirmishes annihilate musketeers. Dragoons, once you're up to the fortress age, annihilate hussars, which is what your opponent will be making in, of course, the colonial age. But it's so hard to do because if you stop making units, you just get behind, and then they come in and they flatten you, so you just can't get up. It's just, if you can do it, if you can't, like, most of the time you just don't, you just can't do it. But here, doing the semi-FF, getting the 700, like, 4 Villes is his first shipment, of course, get that out nice and early for the economy. 700 coin, get him up a bit quicker, but this could be very punishable, especially since here we see Yurashic coming in with even more cavalry, making lots of cav, actually. Let's switch over to him and see what he can do with them. Let's take a look at the shipments. Alright, so 700 wood, normal 4 Ville. Oh, 3 cavalry, perhaps. Oh, okay, so he's got a lot of cav here. This is going to really punish the fact that Boneng didn't quite manage to get all those musketeers out. And that's, like, he could just come in here and rip them apart. Of course, his opponent does have the greatcoats on upgrading his Carreras, and they do have a lot of ranged attack anyway, so it might be a bit difficult, but certainly could kill off those musks if he so chose to. But actually, that's not perhaps what he wants to do. Now sending 8 crossbowmen, really just going to be playing super aggressive here. This is where, like, he now comes in against his opponent. 8 crossbowmen with all of these military units that he's made. Of course, it was actually kind of slow. He did get up, you know, like the cavalry coming out at 7 minutes and stuff, so perhaps, like, the slowness is going to be sort of a problem for him. But, you know, lots of units, going to make it tough for Boneng. Let's switch over to him and see what he's doing. 1,000 wood on the way. How greedy can you be? Like, really? Wow, and making Dragoons here, perhaps been duped into making Dragoons. He saw the extra 3 from his opponent and thought, you know, he's going straight up Hussar, I need to make Dragoon, or something like that. Or at least he thinks his opponent's making more Hussar than normal in response to that with Dragoons. But actually here his opponent's got so many musks, sending 1,000 wood, which he has now cancelled. 5 Dragoons, very interesting. Like, he definitely knows he can't get away with the wood, but here, sending Dragoons, I'd like to see skirmishes there, certainly very strong against his opponent's musketeers at that ×2 multiplier, but then perhaps he thinks, that he'll be okay. Perhaps he thinks 8 skirms actually going to be quite vulnerable to all of these cavalry. But really, you know, you've got 5 musks on the board which didn't die. You've got your explorer, you've got all these vills which you can body block, all of these things, plus your minutemen, of course, and you can use the town center to focus down these hussars. And I think it has a ×2 damage or a ×1.5 damage multiplier. Oh, at least it does in vanilla. I don't think about it does in Tad. But yeah, Skirmishers not sending those, very interesting, or making those. It's actually chosen to spend his resources on at the stable, but the stable does stay up. Yurashic perhaps being a little bit slow with the pressure. You know, in the early game, could have had these musketeers over here doing some damage when he noticed his opponent. Like, if you scout your opponent and you see they're not making units, you just come in and abuse that. Obviously in that early game, and instead he just goes up to Fortress. Like, if you'd seen that, that stable would just not be standing. But here, and I think that goes to show for his previous game as well, if he'd noticed Boneng was going up, he would have came in and stood on his TC. I don't know, like, but then I guess you just don't expect people to do this kind of stuff. You just don't expect them to do it, so, like, there is that as well. Boneng's certainly very good, but this stable's still standing, and if he can bring that down, he can certainly lever himself an advantage. Switch over to Yurashic and see what he's up to. 700 food on the way now. Of course, those crossbowmen have arrived. And the 3 hussars, followed by 8 crossbowmen, followed just by making pure units. He needs to make something happen now. He's certainly got the army for it, but Boneng has had time to stabilize, though. He doesn't have any skirmishes, so it's still very possible. Very strong army. Come in, deal with that stable, and a 700 food, of course. Continue to flood him with units. Just see if you can finish it. Like, you have to do it now before too many of those super hard counter units come out. But let's switch over to Boneng. I think this is where the fighting is going to begin. He has already used his Minutemen. Now going to try... Oh, repair on the stable has gone in. Now that is definitely not going to go down. 3 cuirassiers coming out of his... that's interesting. Still not sending skirmishes, though I'm not going to criticize him, of course. Boneng's certainly a lot stronger than I, and actually one of the favorites to go very far in this tournament. Did win PK Clan Tournament 3, but here we have the fight going to happen now. He's going to come out, do lots of damage versus the units that they're fighting, of course. Area damage, very strong, but they're just fighting musketeers, and it's not too good for them, of course. That ×3 damage multiplier musketeers have in hand combat, that they are in hand combat, still walking around. They're quickly being switched back to range mode, of course, whilst they are walking, not doing any damage. The Hussars getting up close and personal with the Dragoons. Not too good for the Dragoons, of course. They don't want to be taking damage from the things that they counter, and they can maintain that range advantage because they do move faster and have a ranged attack. But actually, yeah, gonna abuse the fact that they were stationary. Yurashic getting those in there, and here it doesn't look too good. Certainly have more Dragoons coming out. 8 skirmishes only just been queued, and at this point, yeah, oh, okay, those Hussars definitely not going to be too happy about taking damage from these veteran Dragoons. Maybe trading more Hussars at this point wasn't the right decision. Perhaps more musks, or perhaps indeed crossbowmen. But then I guess you do need Hussars against your opponent's skirmishers. But then he hasn't made any skirmishes, so maybe, I don't know. But still, either way, it's fine. They do go down, and I don't know. All right. Ooh. Okay, so... Boneng looks like he's okay. He's actually got a 13-point or a 12-point or a 13-point score lead. And that's obviously 1 point equal to 100 resources on the battlefield. When those 8 skirms arrive, that'll indeed go up. And when these units are finished training, that'll indeed go up. The same is true for Yurashic, whatever he has in queue. But Boneng, currently on a score lead, is up to the next stage. Has a good amount of both types of units out now. And those do, of course, counter these really hard. So I think he's stabilized. Once again, an interesting way of doing it, though. And a very, very greedy, very, very risky style of playing. But ultimately, it does pay off. If you can get to the Fortress Age, you do put yourself in that spot. It's just getting there that's really difficult to do. But yes, there is certainly that. Let's see what Yurashic can do. He has got his cavalry hit points now coming in, but actually doesn't have that many cavalry. Only the 3 here and the 5 in queue. But then again, what shipments do you have to send this late in the colonial when they're starting to run dry? I guess 700 coin, you could mass some more units with that. Certainly at this point, it's you have to question, what am I upgrading, or is it worth just making more? But has chosen for the upgrade, may have a lot of cavalry coming out. These certainly going to have a lot of hit points and going to be quite useful against his opponent's skirmishes there. But here... like, he's just going to kite all day long, walk back, as you can see. Managing to kill 2 musks there. Does take some damage. Not going to be too happy about that. The cavalry look like they're going to get into hand combat. Looking pretty good. That is the best thing that could have happened. Taking lots of damage, though, at the same time. Here you can see the Dragoons just going to absolutely annihilate these Hussars. They're going to drop like flies. There are so many Hussars. Sorry, so many Dragoons, even with this hand cavalry upgrade here. Does do a good job of taking out the skirmishers, though, and that's the important thing here. If he doesn't have skirmishers, it just means you have, musketeers and crossbowmen, which are not counters to Dragoons, but they are certainly, well, the crossbowmen are there. ×2 damage multiplier, and the musketeers are also fairly good against Dragoons in the sense that they have 23 ranged attack. Your Dragoon has 26 ranged attack, no multipliers there, and just cost for cost, musketeers are better. So if you can kill those skirmishers, get yourself in a good position. But I think here we can see Boneng, just more units coming out of that barracks and stable, just adding more units to the fight. Skirmishers going down or not, looks like he's fairly happy with that, isn't going to complain, is in a good spot here. Absolutely. And I think this is just where you go ahead and clear up the game, right? I mean, like, you've just neutralized your opponent's final push after losing the initial one that was supposed to win. They're an each behind, and you've got clearly a mass. You've got, clearly a higher score. Let's take a look. I mean, 30 villages for Boneng. Yurashic should have the same, because I didn't notice that much raiding going on. But if Yurashic has a big score, a big extra amount of villages, then maybe, like, he can pull this back here. But that doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We see Dragoons coming in from Boneng to do some raiding. Yeah, these things have a 40% range resist, but they're so far away from the town center. That calls it Boneng winning this best of 3, going through to the next round, into the round of 32, where he will face Gaia, I believe. Absolutely. Well, we don't know for sure until Gaia wins these games. But, yeah. That does conclude this series. Let's take a look how many villages he had out of interest. 33, so we were slightly ahead, but I don't really think it mattered. Maybe that was a direct result from some of the raiding you did in the early game or something like that. Or maybe Boneng was trying to stabilize and make military units rather than villages whilst he was in Fortress and just got there or something like that. But Boneng through, Yurashic out. He is eliminated. Goodbye, Yurashic. Thank you very much for watching. Do leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And I will see you all again next time.